All right, guys, welcome to episode 4 of LA Sports Hub's official podcast. I'm here chilling with Damon Taylor again. Say hey, say what's up, Damon.
Hey, what up? What's up, y'all? What up?
All right, today we're going to be talking about some of the hot things going on with the Lakers, and then tie in a little bit of Clipper news, and also some NFL to LA room for talk and consideration. But first, man, I got to get your take on this. What do the Lakers do with Nick Young? They seem like they're moving to a new offensive format, and I'm not so sure that Nick Young is going to gel with them, though. What do you think?
Yeah, I just don't think I don't think there's enough shots
Yeah,
around for Nick Young, to be honest. I mean, you signed Lou Williams. He's probably going to get 10 to 15 shots a game. Kobe, he's going to get his 20. Randall
maybe
got it,
35. Who
maybe
knows?
35. Clarkson has to shoot. Russell has to shoot. I mean, that leaves Nick Young with like five to 10 shots a game, and it's probably going to be five bad shots, to be honest. I mean, I would suggest, try to trade him for like a perimeter defender that don't need to score the ball. He just wants to just defend, the best players on the other team, and that'll be the best move for the Lakers at this point because I don't see Nick Young really working out with Lou Williams coming off the bench. I just don't think that'll
Seems
work.
like it's in the clash. I agree with you, but I think it'll be not just for Nick Young's sake, but I think, or not just for the Lakers' sake, but for Nick Young too, because he, like you said, he's that kind of guy that needs those shots to be able to feel
Yeah,
included. And you don't want a situation like what we saw with Aldridge in Portland, or um, even a couple players on Miami not too long ago, where they're feeling like left out of the program completely. Like, where are my
exactly,
shot attempts? Like, I'm a professional too. And
exactly.
Nick Young has caused enough social media storm with the shots that he's been getting, so I can only
Man.
imagine his cries for attention getting worse.
Exactly. But it reminds me of what Phoenix did last year. You sign Isaiah Thomas and you have Eric Bledsoe and Goran Dragic. I mean, that just didn't work. I mean, you can't have a three-point guard lineup. It just didn't work at all. That's why they traded um, Isaiah Thomas and, ended up trading Goran Dragic to the Heat.
What do you think Nick Young would fit best in? Is there a team that you think might be a better fit for him?
If I'm trying to, I mean,
I'm
a team
thinking
like,
I'm thinking maybe Detroit. That's the first one that comes to my mind. Maybe as like a just kind of a facilitator. I think he'd get some decent shots. But what do
I
you
mean,
think?
if we could trade him for Jody Meeks, that would be fine. Because I
Yeah.
kind of want Jody Meeks back right now. Because he's a guy, he isn't the best defender, but he can get down there and defend, and he doesn't need the ball to score. All he has to do is spot up and shoot threes, and that's it. And Nick Young, he can spot up and shoot threes, but he doesn't want to do that. He wants to catch the ball, dribble a few times, try to cross his guy over, then shoot the ball. So
He
that
wants
just
to be
makes no
fancy.
sense.
He wants to.
Yeah, exactly. But Detroit would be a nice fit. Houston would be a nice fit as well. Get Trevor Ariza back. I don't know if they'll give up Trevor Ariza, but yeah, a team like that, Houston, Detroit.
One of the lower teams.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the
exactly.
one that's kind of set up. If he goes to a team like a disaster trade would be with Washington. I think with Washington would probably be even a worse fit than the Lakers, just
Oh
because
yeah,
Wall, you got Beal, and you got this offense that's complete opposite the kind of flow the Lakers are running.
exactly,
He's so used to that system that if he transitions anywhere, it's going to have to be a team that at least the Lakers can be compared to.
exactly.
So
I mean, he would fit perfect like in Memphis because they don't
yeah,
have too many scores. So him coming off the bench would be perfect for them if the Lakers could get somebody like Courtney Lee or something, because he's better than Courtney. He's not a better defender than Courtney Lee, but he's a better scorer than Courtney Lee, and that's what Memphis need. They need a person that can come off the bench and score 15, 16 points a game. So that would be perfect for him.
what about Sucre and Kelly? Should the Lakers do anything with those two guys? I feel like they
Um,
kind
so
of just dropped off the map.
I'm so tired of Sacre, man. I seen a Vine last year, and I guess Kobe was sitting on the bench, and Sacre, it was against the Spurs, and he did like this turnaround jump hook, and he just didn't even hit the rim. Like it was just missed. He airballed, and I'm just sitting there thinking like, this is what Kobe Bryant has to deal with the next few years, like with a guy like Robert Sacre who. And I hate when he shoots his jump shots, man. Like, oh my God, I just don't get it. I just
Yeah.
don't get why he gets in the game. I don't get why he touches the ball on offense. I mean, sit there and rebound, defend, but don't touch the ball on offense. Or if you do touch it, just pass it back to the point guard and let
Like
him do
hot
his thing.
potato when you touch it. Just get rid of
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Yeah, just get rid of it. As soon as you touch it, just get rid of it because we don't need you touching the ball and shooting the ball. Oh, and Ryan Kelly.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know about Ryan Kelly, man. I mean, I could see him working, being like a stretch four, or put him at the. Well, he can't play the five because he just can't. But yeah, I just don't see Ryan Kelly working in the Lakers offense right now. Because
I'm glad.
I actually like. What
Go
was you
ahead.
saying?
I was just
Oh, I
saying.
was gonna say.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. I mean, because I think Tyreek Black would get more playing time to him because Tyreek Black is a good defender. He can rebound. He's kind of big in the middle, and in the West, you know, you have some big men to go against, and and with Robert Upshaw. So yeah, I don't think Ryan Kelly will get too much time in between like Rip Hibbert, Upshaw, Black, and like Julius Randle.
Do you think Hibbert will actually be a good fit for the Lakers, or do you think he's going to kind of be a choke like he was with Indiana in the playoffs at least? That's what I'm worried about.
Um,
Is like the
yeah,
Lakers finally being good enough to get in back in the playoff conversation, and then Hibbert has like a free throw situation and blows it.
dude, I've seen Hibbert play 30 minutes in a game, grab 0 rebounds, and score 0 points. I mean, that just don't make no sense. But to defend
So
him, I mean, he all he has to do is rebound, block shots. That's it. We don't need him to score. We have too many scorers on our team already. We just need him to rebound and block shots. In Indiana, you know, they needed him. They weren't that good offensively. So they have to rely on, you know, Paul George, Lance Stevenson, and Roy Hibbert, well, and David West. But sometimes, you know, David West didn't show up. Sometimes Lance Stevenson didn't show up. So you need Roy Hibbert to score like 10 to 15 points. And I don't think scoring is his. I don't think it's his strong suit, to be honest.
And I think when people kind of held those expectations to him, that's why it felt so bad. Is because for a player that's not used to that, he's thinking I'm still going as hard as I can, but I'm just not putting up the points. So
Exactly.
I I was just gonna say earlier that I'm glad the Lakers actually have pieces to look forward to. They're not
Man.
trying to just trade for older or middle of their career people. They have those players on their roster, sure, but the big pieces are Russell and Randall. Now that Randall's fully healthy, thank God he's back.
I
Uh,
know, man.
that they made the smarter move in picking Russell over Okafor. But I wanted to ask you, what have you seen from the Lakers Summer League? What are some of the things that you're looking forward to between the Russell and Randall, and what are some of the negatives that you've seen right off the bat?
So far, I mean, the thing I'm looking, as far as Russell, he's a really good passer, man. Like he looks to pass the ball, which is pretty good because most point guards in the NBA right now, they don't look to pass the ball. They just want to shoot the ball. For
Right.
example, Russell Westbrook, he just want to shoot the ball all the time. I mean, he's a good passer, but he just want to shoot the ball all the time. And like Derrick Rose, he wants to shoot the ball all the time. But Russell, he looks to pass first, which I like. He has like really good court vision. I mean, the point guard position is just so hard to play. So turnovers will come. I was telling this guy yesterday that yeah, Russell turns the ball over, but what great player in the NBA right now doesn't turn the ball over? Russell Westbrook actually leads the league in turnovers. I think 4.4. Then you got James Harden has average 4. LeBron James average 4. So turnovers are just a part of the game. And when you're playing point guard, when you have majority of the ball all the time, making plays for other people, you're gonna turn the ball over.
Right. Yeah.
And then
Um,
Randall, so what was you about to say?
I was with Russell. I think he seems very rushed to try and be great so quickly.
Exactly.
I think if he just tones it down just a little bit, not too much, because you don't want him to play too soft, and then um, have his confidence, completely diminished. So when he actually reaches what he thinks is a peak, it's not his actual peak. We
Exactly.
want Russell to be as good as he can possibly be for as long
Exactly.
as we can keep him around. But
As
what were you going to say about Randall?
Oh, let me add this to Russell, but we're not asking him to score 20 points a game, average 9 assists and 7 rebounds his first year. We just looking. I mean, if he could average 10 points a game, 8 assists, like 5 rebounds, I'm fine with that. But with Randall, I think he's rusty as well. I mean, he's still technically a rookie because he only played 13 seconds against Houston game 1 last year. So, he still has a lot to learn. Sometimes he goes in there like a raging bull, man. You can't stop him sometimes. Like, he just gets so out of control, and I'm just like, man, Randall, slow down a little bit. You don't need to try to take 3 guys off the dribble on a fast break. Like, it's crazy. But I like Randall. That dude's gonna be a monster. Once he gets it together.
He's got the fire. He just needs to learn how to direct it, and then from there we'll be pretty solid. Thankfully,
Exactly.
they're going to have Kobe Bryant for one more season. That's been a lot of the big headlines not too long ago, and it will probably be once the season kicks off again. Um, Kobe Bryant, though, in his time in LA, he spent almost 2 decades in purple and gold, which is great. That shows that
No,
he's
that
been loyal
is.
ever since coming over from the Hornets, which thank God they traded him. Wow,
Vade Divac.
LA would be so different if that didn't happen. Um,
Man.
Is there something Kobe can change about his game and maybe take more of a mentor role rather than a Black Mamba role where he's doing everything and just trying to get a little help? Should he be able to trust his new teammates?
Yeah, he should be able to trust him because Kobe is 37 years old. He's not gonna average 35 points per game again. He's not gonna dominate, you know, the scoring sheet every single night. He's not gonna have 10 plus games of 40 points, per game. He's just not gonna do that again, and he needs to just trust his teammates. Because to be honest, this team right now has like the most talent that he has had
Yeah,
since they traded for Pau. Well, after the Shaq era, before they traded for Pau Gasol, because that team in 2005. Oh, that team was terrible. 2005 and 2006. We had Smush Parker starting point guard. I mean,
if
you
your first
got
name is Smush, it's just going to be a bad
yeah,
time.
exactly. Kwame Brown starting power forward. Like, come on, this team is so much better than that team. And with a 37 Kobe Bryant, he knows that. He knows the talent on this team, and I think he would play the mentor role. And as far as on the court, I think he can just be like a spot up shooter type, not a spot up shooter. A guy he could get his own points, but mostly spotting up, shooting the ball because
Yeah.
this team, they need to get the ball movement going. It can't stick in one person's hand like it's doing in summer league right now, because it's not looking good when the ball sticks in one player's hand for 20 seconds on the shot clock. It just don't make no sense at all.
What about the LA Clippers? They added some pretty interesting pieces to their puzzle. I'm really glad that they added Lance Stevenson, um, but I'm a little concerned about how Doc Rivers is going to try and control that and manage that in the locker room. They added Stevenson. They've got Paul Pierce now, so they've got a little bit of the truth in them. And they've also got Wesley Johnson, who came over from the Lakers. Are you seeing any promise in Clip City, or Lob City, I should say?
Yeah, actually, I went at the Lakers to sign Lance Stevenson when he was a free agent last season, but we
Yeah.
ended up trying to go for Carmelo and LeBron, and we wasted all our time, going after those two guys. But Lance Stevenson, I think that was a nice pickup. I mean, he could defend, he can rebound, he can create for others. It just didn't work in Charlotte. I don't know why it didn't work. I think Charlotte needed him to do a little bit too much. They wanted him to come in and be the superstar, which he's not. He's more like a third option on the team. And yeah, he's just a nice fit coming off the bench. if he comes off the bench, because I think Paul Pierce will probably start the 3 with J.J. Redick at the 2. So off the bench, I think he'll be a nice fit. And as far as Paul Pierce, I mean, that's somebody they need because Game 6 and Game 7 against the Rockets, they had nobody to close. I mean, they're gonna double team Chris Paul. Then you throw the ball to Blake Griffin. What is he gonna do? He's gonna either turn the ball over or just pass it like to DeAndre Jordan, which he did a few times in the Spurs series down the stretch. So I mean, having Paul Pierce, that'll actually help them a lot because he can close. He can. Paul Pierce is a trash talker. I just noticed that last season
Called
in the
game a
playoffs.
couple times
Yeah,
against the
exactly. I mean, and
he
that's
was a fingertip away from backing it up. I was
exactly.
if his finger was that much smaller,
That
they
game,
would have been off in time.
I wish they didn't have a review at that time, man, because that would have been, you know what?
The
If
best
they would have won,
shot ever.
if they would have won that Game 6, anything happened in Game 7, so it could be Washington and Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Finals. But yeah, I mean, he's just such a clutch player. He's coming back to LA, his hometown, grew up, went to Inglewood High School. So I think he's excited and Doc is excited. And with Wesley Johnson, man, he just didn't work in LA, man. Well, with the Lakers because he just didn't know his role. I mean, Wesley Johnson, man. I don't know what to say about him. It's times like he's shown flashes that he could be a really good defender, but then throughout the game, something happened. Like something in his head just stops working, and he just does dumb stuff. Like I don't understand. If he could just become a spot up shooter, just shoot the ball 3, 4, 5 times a game and defend well, then I think it'll work in LA. Well, for the Clippers.
Yeah, I think Paul Pierce is really excited to get back in business with Doc Rivers because their connection, just as the player-coach role, was pretty big with the Boston Celtics making the runs that they did. Even though they probably had about as talented, if not a little more talented team than the Clippers got right now, Paul Pierce knows how to make somebodies out of nobodies, and I think that'll help Doc Rivers being on the hot seat. Do you think that if the Clippers don't make the Western Conference Finals, that it might be Doc Rivers' last hoorah with them?
It might be, man, because Doc Rivers is the coach / GM. He makes all the moves.
Yeah.
The owner gave him that role. So, it's on him to, for this team to get that far, and it's not going to be easy. It is not going to be easy because even though they barely beat the Spurs, they were on the verge of losing that series. They lost, but they lost Game 2, went back to San Antonio, Game 3, and got blown out the water. They were on the verge of going down 3-1, before that they had a great game at Game 4. But, if Chris Paul didn't make that
last second shot.
Yeah, that floater off the backboard, then the team wouldn't have got out the first round this season. And the thing about it, the playoffs when they went against the Warriors in the first round, if Andrew Bogut played, maybe that's a different series. They might be out of the first round these last 3 years. So Doc Rivers is definitely on the hot seat. He has to do something. Something has to give. I don't know if Blake Griffin needs to, start closing better because, he down the stretch, Blake Griffin, he gets a little worried, and for I wouldn't call him a superstar, but for an all-star player like him,
yeah,
he has to come through in the clutch just like Chris Paul does. But Chris Paul can't do everything.
He was trying to do everything injured too with the Spurs shot.
Yeah,
he was banged up.
His hamstring, yeah. Like it's crazy. Like Chris Paul has to defend well. He has to get other people, open shots. He has to score as well. Like, come on, like Blake Griffin, you got to at least close while Chris Paul doing those other 3 things on the court.
What about Byron Scott on the Lakers? I think he's more on the hot seat than Doc Rivers is, just with the expectations being naturally more for the Lakers, being that they've historically been a way better team. What do you think about Byron Scott's chances of making it more than a couple more seasons?
It all depends on this season. It all depends on the progression that Russell and Clarkson gets this upcoming season, and
Yeah.
Randall, because if they can have a good season, then going forward, it'll be pretty exciting. But if all three don't have that good of a season, then it's like, where do we go to next? I mean,
Uh,
Mike D'Antoni probably would have been a perfect coach for this team because you finally got a young point guard that could actually pass the ball and that has great court vision. So it's kind of like, man, maybe Byron Scott should have been the coach when we had Dwight Howard and Steve Nash. Maybe that would have fit more better than, this team right here. But I think Byron will be fine, though. I think, he has them playing hard every single night. And that's the only thing you could actually ask for because there's not too many coaches out there that can actually coach this team right now. Yeah, there's not too many coaches out there.
it's special. It's
No, it is. It is because Byron, he's coached some really good point guards. Jay, he was a really good point guard himself, but he coached Jason Kidd, Chris Paul, and Kyrie
yeah.
Irving. But the thing in Cleveland didn't work because the management sucks in Cleveland. One year you draft Kyrie Irving, then the next year you draft Dion Waiters. I mean, how does that two add up? You have two combo guards that you just draft. So that just didn't make no sense at all for Dan Gilbert and those guys over there.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. And then last question, Damon, is the NFL is getting pretty darn close to bringing a team to LA. Chargers, Rams, and Raiders are still in all talks. Personally, I'd like to see the Chargers make it out here, just
Hmm.
because we've seen the Rams and we've seen the Raiders in LA.
That's
Uh,
true.
is there a team out of those three? It doesn't have to be the Chargers, but is there a team out of those three that you think would be the best fit?
I would definitely love the Chargers. I'm a big Philip Rivers fan for a while, so I'm like the Chargers. That'd be perfect. I mean, and it's not like we will have to rebuild because Philip Rivers, he's what 32, 33 years old, and he's a really good quarterback. So they could make a good run in the playoffs and maybe make the Super Bowl, which would be good for if we get them, and that would be good for the city of Los Angeles. But I would definitely love Philip Rivers. Well, not Philip Rivers, but the San Diego Chargers.
We were talking off air a little bit about Justin Houston, one of the bigger names, bigger defensive names in the NFL. That he signed a 5-year, $100 million contract with the Kansas City Chiefs. Um, just in bringing big names to LA for football, do you think an LA franchise that's just getting off the ground again and having to rebuild at least its name and its brand is going to have a hard time bringing bigger names to the city?
I don't think so because, like I said, you have a guy like Philip Rivers. He's a winner. He hasn't won the Super Bowl yet, but he's been deep in the playoffs multiple times. And players want to play for a team that can win. And if you don't have a quarterback that can win ball games, then that's going to be tough. But Philip Rivers can win ball games, and so he will bring the big name players to LA. I mean, who wouldn't want to play in Los Angeles? You have beautiful weather. You have beautiful women, you have palm trees, you have everything in Los Angeles. So I mean, who wouldn't want to play for, a team in Los Angeles that can be on the verge of winning a Super Bowl?
It'd be cool to see another team in LA just to kind of add to the hype because you got the LA Kings that are going to be good for the hockey world again. They're kind of
Exactly.
making their flow. Lakers are building up. Clippers are building up. Dodgers and Angels are still going at it. We're still waiting to see how that all plays out. And I think a football team would put LA in its proper place. It's always felt like without a football team, it's an incomplete sports city. So I think to really be called a sports capital of the world, like New York has a football team, they have two.
They have
Uh,
two, yeah.
they live up to all that. So once you get a
Exactly.
team in here, it's just put a little pieces to the puzzle, and hey, we'll all be LA Sports Hub would be there to cover that team, no doubt, no matter who plays.
Exactly.
So
It, right. LA is just filled with young stars. You got Jock Peterson, Yasiel Puig, Mike Trout. So I was gonna say Matt Trout, but Mike Trout.
yeah,
Russell, Randall, Clarkson. I'm not calling them stars, but they have star capability.
they're on their way.
Yeah, exactly. So
Any
yeah,
closing
that'll be
thoughts before we
interesting.
finish out the episode?
Man, that Justin Houston contract, man, 5 years, 100 million, and he's only 26 years old. He can only get better, to be honest. That was a nice pickup for the Chiefs, a nice re-sign. And Lakers Summer League today start at 5:30, so I'm looking forward to it. They're playing against the Mavericks, and so I'm looking forward to actually them progressing. Not having 24 turnovers again. So we'll see about that a little bit later on. I just can't wait to get this season started already, man.
Yeah, things are going to kick off shortly. Thank you guys all for tuning in and listening. Thanks, Damon, for joining us. We'll have episode 5 probably out tomorrow or the day
Okay.
after. Stay tuned for all that. And thanks for stopping by.
All right, man. Have a good day.
All right, you too. Take care.
Thanks.